stars his range. Alright, I'm trying to buy him. Thanks.
Big smoke, SK level.
What's happening, motherfuckers? So, you know, for the last video, I see there were some likes and dislikes, and I'm glad for both of them. The likes, obviously, I appreciate, and the dislikes help me to get better, so I'm here to answer a few questions, and throw out a build video, or 4, or 5, quickly for this Necro. This Mag Warden, as fast as I can, just to try and wrap up a few, questions about situations of what you should do for your Mag Warden. I have builds for BGs, for duels, for open world PvP, and a few different variations on that PvP build so that you can switch it up to how you feel comfortable playing it. So without further ado, let me get into the first build, which is my personal favourite. I run this in most places now because it's just really comfortable. Buff up all the way for you. Swap overs in my front bar. We've got 39% crit, 3.6k spell damage, 47k mag, 18.2k health outside of Cyrodiil, almost 20k stamina, which is fucking crazy for a mag character to roll around. Good mag recovery, decent resistances, all around a really comfortable Warden. So I've checked all of these new sets out and I've versed their stats against each other. And from what I can find out, this might lack a slight bit of damage in comparison to the max build that I'm running with Crafty Alk Necro on this. But this actually has a lot more resources to play with, and it's better off in situations because you can die and still have half a pool of mag. It's not unheard of. So if you have enough stam, that can get you out of a situation and you can use what mag you do have to survive. I'll just give you a quick example of these stats just so you know it wasn't cheesed anywhere. I have no other buffs besides being in PvE. 102k on that. 1.5 on that, so it's a really strong 18.1 overall, really strong Mag Warden. I love how the fly damage is over 30k now. Nasty, throw that at someone, it splits to 2 people. It's absolutely great. But then again, some people would much rather be, that cannon style of play, and I understand that completely. That's why I've got other builds for that. But just before I get into that, just so you understand, this is way more comfortable. The other ones might have better moves, as in they're stronger, but what's the point of having a strong ability if you're dead and can't use it? Sometimes you're going to want to have a little bit of extra stamina so you can block, do a few rolls. This will get you out of a lot of shit. A Mag Warden that can roll 4 times off the bat, and usually you're jumping and keeping your shields up, so you don't even need to actually block. For the most part, you're going to be safe. So yeah, keep that in mind. This would be the first build I'd go to, and this is Shacklebreaker Inferno, Shacklebreaker Resto. You've got the Infernal Guardian Heavy, Dominus Medium, Light, 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 and Light. So we've got 5 Light, 1 Heavy, 1 Medium to give us the best max stats overall as we can get. I haven't gone for any Hakijos on this because I'm trying to keep my max up high whilst doing that with my sets. So I want to keep my mag as high as possible. Jewelry of Necro, nice and easy to get. You can swap it out, and if you want to do the weapons of Necro and the gear of Shackle, is however you feel comfortable. But Shackle, Necro, 1 Dominus, 1 Groftar, real good overall build. So that's my number 1 build out of these builds. Okay, so for the next build, which is obviously the max build, Cannon, super strong. If you would like to play with your friends and just smack people off their feet, then I wouldn't even recommend using flies for this. You could take that off, put on Inner Light, get a little bit of extra mag. If you wanted to get even more damage, you could use the bird, but for the damage you'd gain and the stun that you'd lose, I don't think it's worth it. So let me just buff up and show you what this character would be at. Got a light attack, go to stats, and we are at 3,600 spell damage, 53.6k mag, 18k stam, 17k stam, 18k health. Same resistances, and just to show you how strong this is with the abilities. So you've got 108.7k soul assault, and the clench is 12.2, which is really strong. Show you what the shulk's saying. So we've got that shulk. It's at 20.1 on a Destro. So I've seen that on dual wield, but that's dual wield and you lose obviously the stun and the ability to weave lights and stuff like that from a distance. I wouldn't recommend playing this unless you was playing with a friend, because that friend's going to be able to help you. Obviously you don't need to use the crit buff now, so you can use your tripods. If you wanted to really push it and you wanted to save up, you know, for your ult with your friend or whatever, and go full blown mag, this is what your stats would be at. Be at 56.7k, and with stats like that, let me just quickly show you what the abilities would be hitting like. So your Shulk would obviously hit a little bit harder for that extra mag. It's almost 21k, and you've got a 12.6 flame reach. So I mean, you're going to be relying on them two abilities most of the time, but that will beat the shit out of most Zerglings that are on you. But again, for the fact that you've lost your Solar Assault, which is so cheap, I'd keep Solar Assault on. It's just way better overall. So this would be the cannon build, and for the cannon build, that would be a Destro of Necro, a Resto of Necro. And just before I go on with this build quickly, people always ask me why do I use Inferno all the time over Lightning, because I'll just show you. For example, we're completely unbuffed right now, okay? So Shulk is 16.8, it's pretty close to 17, okay? If we put on the Lightning Staff here, you've got a higher Shulk damage, plus for the fact that this is a sharpened and it's not a Nirnhoned, so obviously your Shulk will go up a lot higher, but then you lose damage on things like your Shock Length. So Shock Length is 18.7 here, for example, 18.7. We'll go back to this one so you can remember, and it's gone up to 10. So you get a massive increase on things like single target abilities, but for your Shulk damage being that much higher, again, I don't feel it's worth it. You can't spam Shulk all the time. It has a delay in between it. You'd rather have an ability that is quicker to fire off and get them to him, which will actually, you know, stun and kill, rather than just maim, for example. But yeah, the build for this would be Necro. You've got Infused, so I can light attack and get more damage, obviously, for the most damage you can get. One heavy, one medium. On all of these builds, I'm running one Infernal and one Domius, apart from the last build, which obviously I'll explain why. Necro, Crafty Alk, and again Crafty Alk. Same thing as what I was running on my Templar, except with this one, obviously you have access to the pet. I'd only run this if I was going for a full cannon build and I just wanted to stream people, because you can get a lot of damage just to run up in there, Soul Assault someone, clench them off their feet, and then you can zip away, because Warden has a lot of speed. Don't forget to be able to kite with it. This would be primarily for something like that. You come around the corner, smack him, and you're out. So you're not going to be hanging around and fighting on this. You don't want to waste your stam. So now for the next build, build 3, which would be the BG's build. Okay, so for build 3, this is my BG's build. The reason I play this obviously in BG's separately instead of this anywhere else is it does have good damage, but it lacks compared to the other builds. And obviously when you're in Cyrodiil, you get way better resource management, so there's no point of, you know, going for a build that specifically is going to give me a bunch of regen when I could run something else and just manage better. But for BG's, you want to run sets that are going to help you to not only sustain, but to help pressure enemies, because we're all running low in BG's. Take advantage of that. So buff up all the way. Let me give you a picture of these stats. Oops, I didn't hit my crit pot, so just add 10 crit onto that. 3,500 with 39 crit once I hit my correct pot. 42 mag, almost 20 health. 16 mag, so we've gone up in health, really decent. Just show you the damage on the Soul Assault to compare to other builds. 95. So you can see we've got a decent loss on the Soul Assault build, and the clench is, you know, a fair bit weaker. Let me put up this and show you the Shulk. The Shulk highest was 20k, now it's 17.6. So we have lost a little bit on here, but this is obviously the BG's build, and you have enough stam to be able to roll around in BG's, and you know where I'm going with this, spamming down this. I get this all the way down, wait for my pot to go down, hit the correct pot, get that in there, turn around, and we are at 2,700 regen, 3.5k spell damage, good mag, good stam, good health. And not only that, but we've got Scoria on top of everything, so to add the extra pressure, we've got a few dots. Typical, just like a dog, Scoria doesn't proc when you want it to. But you get the point. We've got Scoria on, so let me show you the build for this. We've got the Master's Inferno, nice clench damage. We've got the Lich Resto just on the back bar with 1 heavy, 6 light, just to be able to get the extra crit in there so I can hit people pretty hard. Don't want to lose too much crit, otherwise it's a waste of a soul assault. You've got your Necro 5 on the body, 3 jewelry of Lich, and yeah, so you've got basically just 1 Inferno, 5 Necro, Scoria, and Lich. Overall, really, really aggressive and good, and especially fun to play. You're only running low in BGs because you can't do anything with no resources. You don't want to be sitting there heavy attacking the whole time. It'll get you nowhere. So, yep, that's another build. That's covered for BGs. Hope you enjoyed that. And now I'm going to come to the final and weirdest build of all of them. Okay, so for the final build, which I lied, there is one more quick build after that. It's a dueling build, but for another open world build that I like to run, take a look at that health. We obviously have a crazy amount of health because we're running Plague Doctor. So I'm just going to put this up and I'm going to show you what we're up at stats wise. 3.4k spell damage, 39% crit, 27 health, 43.5k mag, and almost 17k stam. Decent regen, and bearing in mind I'm not in Cyrodiil, so that's going to go up a lot more. The damage will go up a lot more of all of these builds, but the nice thing about this is you have such high health and able to shield. We're not in heavy, but we have basically the feeling of being in heavy because you have such good health and your damage is still really good as well. So let me just quickly show you what some of the ability damage is, because you've got to probably gauge through all of the damage drop and gains. 10.7, 95.9, so it's as strong as the BG build, but you have all this health. So obviously that can only be one set. I'm going to get into that now and show you quickly. We've gone for a light and a light, still with the Grofdar and the Domius, well, the Inferno and the Domius, just to keep up the mag and mag stam. A heavy chest of Plague Doctor, heavy hands of Plague Doctor, and the rest light. So it works out to be 5 light on the body with 2 heavy. Inferno of Necro, Resto of Necro, and the jewelry, which is the main piece of this build, would be 1 infused for recovery and 2 arcane to keep up that mag, because you don't want any more health than this. 30k plus is an obnoxious amount of health. If you go and get an Ayleid well with a flag buff, you've got your own Warden buff up. I mean, if you're in a group with someone who's got Airborne, you could be sitting at about 36k health. You don't need to put any points into it. So take it out, make it arcane, and you could be pushing over 40k mag with over 30k health, almost 20k stam, and still be able to get a nearly 100k soul assault tooltip. I hope you enjoyed that. And now for the final build, which is a dueling build. Okay, so for the dueling build, the final build, I won't lie to you, this can be a bit of a bitch to get. So I'm not going to deny it and make it sound like it's easy, because it was horrible for me to get it. We grinded it a few times and I finally got it, and I can only really comfortably use it for duels because I prefer to have a stun open world. But in a duel you can kite the bear, so this works out really well. Let me just show you my stats for this. We'll get him up. Got that. Hit this. Bam. Swap bar. Obviously we've got spell strat. 3.7 spell damage, 42 crit, add the 500 from spell strat, we're sitting at 4.3k spell damage. We've got decent mag, decent health, decent stam, overall good again. The only difference with this build is we have the bear, so we can send the bear in. We've got that up, go for the force pulse, go for another force pulse, and obviously you can see from the force pulse, if you know what that is, we're rocking an Asylum Perfected Inferno, so we can keep up that nasty force pulse. Just sit behind the bear, keep your light attack weaves up, and eventually you should, when you're keeping on proccing this, sometimes I like to proc it in between moves just so it doesn't drop off. Eventually, there we go, and the Zahn's up. So when you're moving around and you're kiting in between all of your shit and you've got this popping up, there's an incredible amount of damage to deal with, a lot of pressure. More times than not, people will spend all their time rolling away from you, so it's yeah, just to show you what that is. It is, having fun there, Asylum Perfected Inferno, Spell Strat Resto infused, which is 400 damage. So if you look at the 452 you get with that, plus the 472 you get with that, let's just overall say it's 1000 and chip off 20 at the end or something. That's 1000 spell damage. So if I'm sitting here on my Inferno right now, I'm at 3190. That's 1000 spell damage. You can just go bam, and then you just send that in, no problem, and then just start with the work. I mean, that was a real lucky burst there. But I mean, you see how cheesy it is? Real nice, cheesy, easy dueling build. So I'll just get into that for you. Asylum Perfected, Spell Strat Resto, 1 heavy, 1 medium, Zahn OP. Got your Necro on the body, Spell Strat Jewelry. Incredible. So overall, for all of these builds, I haven't changed the CP for anything. I don't change it for PvE, I don't change it for PvP, because I have good enough resistances from my shields, I have good enough resistances from my gear. Warden overall plays really well. So this CP, you shouldn't have to change for anything. I'm comfortable as anything with this. So 20% into firm. Obviously need that for your soul assault. You want that for your flies. Really nice. 20% extra for your soul assault. Anything like your single target abilities like clench. A little bit extra just while you're weaving. Just want to try to get that repulse really, so that when you block, which I think you can buff this with mag. So if it was 6.2, I know it buffs his weapon damage. Yeah, 8.4. So a chance to, when I'm fully buffed, return that back to you. Obviously half that in PvP. So the only reason I put that in there is to get the repulse passive. 20% for the extra crit damage, 2k for the penetration, and 13 for the damage. Nothing in blessed. You can heal really good with these wardens, so it doesn't really matter. 20, do a lot of moving around, a lot of blocking. 10, obvious, old school as anything. 20% want to break free, and we do quite a bit of running, so we've got 10% in there. If I'm going too fast, just slow this down. 20% in thick-skinned. Dots will eat through your shields, especially when you're being spam poison injects and shit like that and you're low health. I don't want to be a vampire, so 20% in there is good for me. I'd rather 20% in there than a lower percentage and putting something into here, because I already have that for my gear, plus I'm always shielded, so I'm pretty safe anyway. 10%, 3,117 in there, so I have good overall shields, and the same in there, so I just feel comfortably even when I'm taking a beating from anybody. Be it Stam or Mag, it's always usually the same damage. I can judge who's strong by, you know, the extra damage I'm used to taking. And then we've got the 20% 9-clad to negate some overall damage. Exactly the same CP for every single one of the builds. I'll put up a picture again, right here. So if you can, I hope you enjoyed these builds. And I know I usually put some gameplay in, but there's a lot of builds here. I'm not about to go through all of these and put gameplay in. I'm merely putting this up just so that you guys can get builds and an overall understanding without wasting all your gold on what you might prefer to run. So, as always, peace motherfuckers, and leave some hate, love, whatever you want in the comments below. I almost forgot, I have tried using Balor with Crafty and Necro just to go, you know, overkill max damage, but it hits hard, but it just feels like it lacks in other areas, so again, no point running it. And as always, peace motherfuckers!